Recording and not me. So welcome, Don, and we are just getting the huge gift of Laura Best's time. So how I wanted to introduce her to you is to say that when I started Lean In Together 12 years ago, Laura was also starting a project. We took this lovely walk around the track at the YWCA, and it was like we are starting these fires at the same time. It's so great to not do it alone, and we have to stay in touch because that's the kind of people we are. Over to you, Laura.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Linda. And thanks for everything that you do to help all of us. It's wonderful to have this space. I do have some slides today, not to make this super corporate, but I thought it would help. I'm certainly a visual learner or a visual person. And also, it's Saturday morning. So I thought, why not? You can hopefully see my face at the same time, or not, as the case may be. So hold on a sec while I just share. Really hoping that you see this. Let's see. So you should have that. And then I'll stick it on. Should see a really bright photo of me sitting on the edge of the chair.
Yay.
So good. All right. Okay. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Laura Best. Despite my accent, I live in Minneapolis, St. Paul area, in Golden Valley, in the GV in Minneapolis. I was born in England long time ago. Uh, but I've actually lived here for 25 years now, which is half my life, which is really crazy to think about. You get to that point in your life where you're like, whoa, very grateful and also sort of quite interesting to think about. Um, on the sort of career side of things, I have spent 25 years in marketing. That's really how I built my career. Started in England. I actually did a history degree in England. I love history, all types of history. Um, Launched myself into public relations in England. Did some amazing. Now I look back on it, when you look at your early career, you're like, wow, that was really fun and cool. Did some amazing stuff when I was young in England. Working for some wonderful big brands and getting some fantastic experience. Then got the opportunity to come to America when I was 26. So I came here to work for an advertising agency on my own. I came with the story is, which is very true. I came with $500, a suitcase, and my snowboard. I didn't use my snowboard that much because I realized that there weren't too many mountains in Minnesota. If you've ever been to Minnesota, you realize there are hills, not necessarily mountains. Anyway, came to Minnesota when I was 26, thought I would stay for a few years, have a little bit of an adventure, and here we are, 25 years later. So over the years, I built a career in, first of all, it was advertising, then digital technology, digital advertising. I started in that in 2001, which was pre-social media, pre a lot of stuff. Anybody else in the marketing or digital area here? If you want to raise your hands, oh, there you go, Vicky, a few other people. So 2001, that was like old school, right? I remember when I was at my PR firm in England, we had one computer that was connected to the internet in the middle of the office, and you had to sign up for your internet time. Isn't that crazy how far we've come? Anyway, built my career in the Twin Cities, working with lots of amazing agencies. Also went into corporate America. Worked at Ameriprise. Well, actually, it was American Express Financial Advisors, which became Ameriprise Financial. So I got this sort of big corporate experience. I experienced what it was like to work in a beige cube, work on massive projects. Probably where I experienced this sort of corporate patriarchy for the first time, and the invisible nature of that in many ways. Um, did really well there and created accomplishments, but realized that I needed to continue to fly. So I left Ameriprise back to the agency world. Um, then in 2014, I'd had my daughter a few years before. She was born in 2011, this wonderful gift, amazing gift of this beautiful girl. And I was working at another big national consulting firm. And that's when I realized that I had nothing more to give, like at all. I was checking all the boxes, doing all the things. That's when I truly realized that I had climbed these ladders upwards, sideways, backwards, the jungle gym that Cheryl talks about, right? And I'd got myself to a place that on the outside had a lot of success and accomplishment and the things that I thought I had wanted. And I had this beautiful family, which of course I loved. But I had lost sight of truly what else I loved in my life. And the only way I can really describe it, of course, it was burnout, which I'm going to assume that many of us have experienced. It went deeper than that for me, I think, because I was like 36-ish, 37. My math is wrong, but you get the idea. So it was fairly young to be having this moment, I think. But it was a moment of questioning, how did I get here? What am I doing? Do I have to give all of this up to do something that I actually enjoy? Hold on, wait a minute. What do I love? I used to love my work. I used to love the things I did at work. I used to do fun things in my spare time. Where has all that gone? Despite on the outside, this, image that I'd constructed and earned in many respects for being what I was being. So I decided to start a little Facebook group. And that Facebook group I called Passion Collective because I knew I needed this word passion that came to me. I knew I needed passion. I got really curious about that. Like, what is that? Because it feels like that's what I'm missing. And I also knew that I was lonely, really lonely, especially if you work in or have worked in corporate America. There's a real different type of loneliness, I think, that happens in these big companies and in these beige cubes. Um, and I really missed women because I was often, one of the onlys in the room. I was a senior leader with a lot of male senior leaders, and a lot was being asked of me at the time. I was running two teams, I was traveling. If anyone else has been a consultant, I was in that phase of you pitch business, the clients fall in love with you. So then they want you on the business. So then you end up just with this relentless workload. It's never ending, right? So there was a lot of that. I wanted to connect with other women. I had no answers. I honestly didn't know how to do this. I joke that this was before Brene Brown was on Netflix. I mean, now we have these wonderful forums, right? We go to happy hour and we talk about vulnerability and, meaning. Back in 2014, 2012, Linda, like we weren't really doing, I mean, I wasn't doing that. You were lucky if you got to happy hour with your girlfriends, let alone have a meaningful conversation. And a lot of the networking events I was going to just with these sort of very masculine, transactional, what do you do? What do you do? Situations. And I even remember going to a women's leadership event that was presented by a man on the stage. And the whole event was just felt like a charade to me. Um, so all of this combined to create this small little Facebook group where I wanted to bring women together to explore this question of what does it truly mean to find our passion or to pursue our passions. I was doing a lot of air quotes back then, still do. Um, and it quickly turned into, as I began to create social gatherings that were more intimate, more meaningful, more thoughtful, I created coaching programs, all sorts of stuff. I mean, over the years, I've created hundreds of events, sessions, you name it. Over the years, we've become a global community. We actually have about 11,000 people on our list from more than 35 countries. I only know that because I checked about a month ago when I was launching my book. One of the things that helped with that was about 5 years ago, we launched a grant program called Atomic Grants. Um, as I built Passion Collective, I went out to get corporate sponsors, as you do. I didn't love it actually, because it sort of was putting me back into this corporate world. But I found a wonderful mentor and business supporter called Jim Walford from Atomic Data. He's no longer with us, sadly, but at the time he was a force of nature in the Twin Cities. And He was sponsoring us a little bit, but I went to him and asked him to support a grant program because I truly wanted to support women in doing more of what they love, not just talk about it, because we do a lot of talking. So we started a grant program, and over 4 years, we reached more than 10,000 people in more than 50 countries with the applications, which is bonkers, bonkers. So, as a complete aside, if any of you have an idea to do anything, just start it because you never know where it's going to go. So, that's a complete side comment. But anyway, now, after all of that, I am a keynote speaker. So, I truly love getting out onto the big stages and sharing this message of what it truly means to do what lights us up. Um, I have all sorts of coaching programs. I've got a podcast. I launched my first book a month and 2 days ago. That's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, called Born to Buzz. And I'm going to share a bit about that next. And I'm still running Passion Collective. We look a bit different now because we have people all over and people's needs have changed too. So I suppose the most succinct way to sum myself up is my passion is helping other people find theirs. And also helping companies figure this out too, because in the workplace, passion has this reputation as being something in the workplace that we push to one side and we never talk about. There's a lot of discussion about purpose and mission, vision, values in corporate, but I love talking about passion in the workplace. We're seeing massive levels of disengagement. Quiet quitting, I feel like, was the old thing. There's all sorts of new things that are happening in the workplace. I learned about something called job hugging the other day, where people are holding on to their jobs for dear life at the moment. So I love coming into businesses and talking about how we can fire ourselves up with our work. So that is a very long intro of me, but hopefully that covered 20 odd years how I've got to where we are today. All right, let me just move forward for this. So this is some lovely photos of our Passion Collective community, all sorts of incredible women. Actually, now Passion Collective is for anyone who wants to pursue more of what they love in work and life. There's a whole nother conversation about men and passion and duty, because often men don't feel like they should be doing what they love because they are bound by duty. So there's a whole nother conversation about the impact that has. On our website, over the years, I've created several hundred stories called passion stories of people who are pursuing their passions. These are just a couple of them. I've always been about practical inspiration. I don't know about you, but there's only so much inspiration I can take because then you've got to go and do the laundry or pick up socks or write a report. Has to be practical, right? It has to be practical. So real stories of doing what we love are on our website. Please go and check them out. They're literally so inspiring. People of all genders up there doing what they love. So there we go. So that's a bit about me and Passion Collective. I want to share a little bit with you now about Born to Buzz. And Linda and I were talking about how to structure this. We're actually going to use some of the structure of Born to Buzz to help us with our breakout and our discussion today. So let me give you a bit of information about how we're going to do that. And I think we will have time for questions as well, Linda, right? Because I know I'm moving pretty quickly. And please stop me, anyone, if I need to stop and answer something. Once I start, I go. All right. So Born to Buzz is my book, which I'm so, so proud of. I created Born to Buzz as something that hopefully, this is my dearest wish for this book, that you will hold close to your heart. I didn't just want to create a book to help sell stuff. Nothing wrong with that, I suppose, but I was like, I knew this was going to take a couple of years of my life. I knew I was going to put a lot of myself into it. And more than anything else, I knew and I still know that there are thousands of passion seekers out there who need encouragement, inspiration, support. So I really, really wrote the book for them, for you, for anybody who is truly asking the same question that I'm still asking. I mean, I have a lot more answers now, but the question that I was asking back in 2014. It's like, how do I do more of what I love? Or even record scratch, what the hell do I love anymore? Start there. How do I do more of it? And then how do I sustain it? It's there's a lot of baggage around the word passion because people think that, well, it's just this woo-woo thing. A lot of the male influencers, and I talk about this in the book, a lot of the male influencers, actually, and there was a woman I found too, just to balance things out, have this idea that passion is something you are given by, I don't know, society once you have ground yourself into dust. So maybe when you're retired, if you make it that far, you'll get to do the stuff you love. Maybe in 15 years, if I can just stick it out a little bit longer, maybe I'll get to do that trip, that project, that creative thing, whatever it is. But I have to work hard for it first. I have to earn it. I have to be good enough. I have to beat I mean, there's all of this stuff, right? And I completely disagree with that philosophy. And by the way, and I can't wait to be on a stage with Mark Manson, Simon Sinek, Professor Galloway. I can't wait to be on a stage with these guys and actually show them that academically they're wrong. Wrong. Because I've actually done the research. Some of these books here. Um, I've done the research on what passions truly are, and they're at the wrong side of this. Passions are, in the simplest form, a motivational force. So, it starts at the beginning. And this is exactly why I created Born to Buzz and called it Born to Buzz, because I truly believe that we are born with this incredible beauty, magic, talent, natural inclinations, natural abilities, all of these beautiful magic things. We're born with that stuff. And as life happens, these chapters of life we find ourselves in, or we create for ourselves because we have the goals, which are great. But like I was in 2014, I'm like, wait, didn't I want all of this? We go through these chapters of lives and it gets harder to not even just express or realize those passions, but simply to feel them, to stay connected to truly what lights you up. And I know because I've been through that multiple times. So truly, that's why I wrote Born to Buzz, because the part of me, as Linda will know, that I want to set the record straight and explain to people, no, this is actually something that's inside of you more than anything else. And I would love for you, if there's one thing you take away from today, I would love for you all to just remind yourself that you deserve to be happy and fulfilled in your life. You deserve to do more of what you love. I mean, the big message of my book is you have one life. Are you truly living it? You have one life. Are you truly living it? And I know that there are a bazillion barriers that get in our way. Some of them, many of them are societal. For many people, if you're working a couple of jobs, you've got kids to feed, maybe you're in a tough relationship, maybe you're caring for other people, maybe you've got a crazy work situation. There are loads of barriers that we come up against. But you should never, sorry, I use the should word, but I am going to use it in this case. You should never forget that you do. You deserve it. You are worth it. And the crazy thing about this is that it's in you already. So it's up to you to figure it out, which can sometimes feel a bit overwhelming if you're already feeling kind of low. So, anyway, that is why in the book I created 12 sparks. So, you'll see with the book, it's beautiful. It's got like gold embossing on. So, it's very sort of light and energizy. There's lots of movement, there's lots of fun stuff inside. This isn't just a self-help business book, right? I wanted this to feel something special. I created 12 transformational sparks that are all like mini chapters. And each one of these sparks is either a mindset shift, a practice, um, a behavioral sort of aspect of how we need to show up in this world to do more of what we love. So some of them are reminders, some of them may be completely new. I wrote them really as a rally cry for us. And even if we're not together, hopefully when you read the sparks, you feel like, yeah, I can do this and I need to do this. And that's truly what the 12 sparks are. So these are the sparks. This is actually one of the posters we have that we designed to remind people, stick it on your cube. You can carry it with you, whatever you want to do with your posters. But these are the sparks. And I'm not sure how I'm doing on time. I'm probably running a little long, but I'm going to take you through these sparks one by one, super quick here. And hopefully, if you get the book, you can read the chapters, and there's a lot more context. But I'll run through these quickly for you. And then I think we're going to take a couple of the sparks, aren't we, Linda? And we're going to have some breakout discussion around them. So the first spark is that we deserve it. So that's what I just talked about. We deserve to feel happy and fulfilled. It's just a daily reminder. You do, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're coping with, no matter what you're pushing for. Maybe you're pushing for some positive change or you're leading something big. We tend to put everybody else first. We're serving everybody else before ourselves. And there's a part of that that is generous and we want to contribute to society. Not saying we shouldn't stop caring or contributing, but we have to put ourselves first. We have to remember that we deserve it, number one. Number two, we know what we want. So if you'd asked me back in 2014, so Laura, what are your passions? I literally would have had like a flat sort of death stare or just like, I honestly didn't know. I knew what maybe they used to be, but I didn't know what they were. And I didn't really know what I wanted anymore, even though I had a lot. It's this really weird, I don't know whether that resonates with anybody here. If you've ever had that previously in your career or that's where you are now, or even, I shouldn't even keep saying career, your life. But we have to know what we want and it can change. But how do we create the life that we want if we don't know what we want? It's this crazy conundrum, right? So that is number two. Number three is that we ignore labels. And I know that this might be slightly controversial because sometimes labels get us to where we need to be. Sometimes labels like a job title or the way we describe ourselves is the way we gain acceptance. Some labels maybe we want. I love being known as a mum, MUM, the English version. But sometimes labels can really hold us back and they can stop us from embracing activities, inclinations, so our passions that may look very different from our day to day. In the book, I talk about the fact that I love Formula One racing. And some years ago, it's a very British thing, Formula One racing, at least it used to be. It's now a global thing. But that's a very different identity to a very polished corporate female leader. It's becoming more of a female sport now, but the label was very different. And thankfully, I didn't let it stop me from enjoying it, but it certainly was interesting when I was sharing one of my passions with other people. They didn't see me as a Formula One fan. They saw me in another way. And there's something about just ignoring those labels and doing it anyway that is so important. The next one is that we refuse to be controlled by comfort. Again, all of these are quite, I'm not messing around with these, if you've noticed. Now, this is me saying, look, it's not that you should never be comfortable. I mean, I love a good Netflix binge and a nice cozy blanket more than anybody else. I mean, just House of Guinness right now is one of my favorite things, I'm just going to say. But there are times in our life when, certainly if we're verging or in burnout, where comfort can become the default and it begins to control the decisions we make and the way we live in the world. And we sort of forget to be aware of that. So that is a big one. We refuse to be controlled by comfort. We fuel ourselves Now, I just did a whole keynote on this a couple of days ago with a group of women real estate investors about how passions can actually fuel ourselves. Um, I believe the self care industry is completely broken, and we need to rethink how we do self care, what self care means to us. And I'm a huge believer that passion should be part of our self care because they fire us up, they fuel us. The next one, we find our people. Well, here we are today, finding our people. So critically important to truly find the circles that are going to help and support us. We transform our shame stories. Many of us have moments, experiences in the past where we were made to feel shame. And those moments can stop us from pursuing activities, paths ahead that we truly want because we're holding on onto those. And I certainly don't believe that we should crush shame down, but we can transform those stories, those shame stories, into something different for ourselves. And sometimes there are nuggets actually of our passions in those past experiences. So that is a huge one. We craft our jobs. So this is where if you're in a job right now that is feeling, yeah, but you've got to pay the bills, you need the job, there is an academically proven method called job crafting, where you bring more of what you love into your work. It's fascinating. I've written articles on this, I talk about it. The key to this is that you have more power than you realize with your work job description, with the way you show up at work. You can craft your job more than you realize. We let go of certainty. This is a huge one for me, especially at the moment as I've launched my heart out into the world with a book. Um, what is certainty these days? I don't know if anyone could tell me. Um, but if you want to do more of what you love, you've got to let go of it. You can also create your own. And that's what this chapter talks about. You can create your own certainty. So I know that's a little bit, and I'm contradicting myself there, but once you read the chapter, you'll understand. The next one, I'm almost done. We proudly dabble. So I talk about the concept of dabbling, which is, I think, a very English word. It's where you kind of play around with stuff and you don't put too much pressure on yourself to be an instant expert at something. And we need to proudly dabble. We shouldn't be ashamed of just playing and exploring. The penultimate one, we reach back to move forward. So there are clues in your past as to what truly lights you up. And sometimes we push our past away because maybe we've got negative baggage. Maybe we just are trying to charge forward. Maybe we're like, I'm 50. What would I do? Like, I did that when I was 20, Laura. I'm not going to do that again. There are many things in our past that lit us up. If we acknowledge those and adapt them to where we are today, you will find a treasure trove of activities that will continue to light you up. So that is a huge one. We reach back to move forward. And the last one is, and I love this one so much, we are relentlessly resourceful. And I imagine that everybody here today is incredibly resourceful. You get the SH asterisk E done. You're taking on a lot. You know how to solve problems. You know how to create opportunities. With your passions, you have to be relentlessly resourceful. You have to get out there and ask for opportunities, especially if I don't know if anybody here is an entrepreneur or do you have a side hustle or anything you're doing? You got to make it happen. You can't just sit back and wait for it to come. You can't. And it is incredibly vulnerable to do that, but it's so essential to us doing more of what we love. So these are the backbone of the book. And the idea is that you can dip into any one of these sparks. They're like a couple of pages long. So if you've got 5 minutes, you can read a spark and it can be a reminder for yourself about how to show up. So, Linda, we had talked about creating our breakouts based on, I'm just going to go back
Mhm.
again. based on a couple of these sparks. I think what we
Hmm.
thought is that, why not take a couple of these sparks and have some small group discussion about potentially
Yep.
just like a steam train. I haven't
Questions.
even looked at the chat here. Wow, you're fast, Linda. I love this. Okay. Oh, yes, permission granted. Yes, Vicky, that's exactly.
Vicky also has her hand raised.
Oh, Vicky, sorry. What is your question, Vicky?
So, I've been exploring or re-exploring sort of strengths, Clifton strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious because obviously you've done a lot of research and, there's a lot I love about it, even though I feel like I really don't know that much about strengths. But what I like is that it's all innate, right? Which is sort of what you were saying. Like you're born with these strengths. We each have a different combination of these strengths. Um, and so I'm just curious how you might describe what you're doing in relation to strengths. Like, I don't know. I'm not thinking of a great way of framing it besides that.
No, that's okay. Yeah, there are so many different ways of doing this, right? You've got your Clifton strengths, I can never say the Enneagram. There's a bazillion, right, of different ways that we can go about this. I think for me, and I've experienced many of those uh, programs and sort of, I guess, leadership development scenarios. I think for me, Clifton Strengths, Enneagram, etc., they can all be incredibly helpful in understanding. Certainly for me, Clifton Strengths, I was in a particularly challenging work environment at the time. And for me, it was helpful to understand how I was showing up, but also how other people, um, how you would sort of complement or not other people in that scenario. So, everyone's like, well, what are your five strengths, Vicky? Well, my five strengths are these, and my five strengths are these. I feel like though, and maybe this is because I've just spent so long in the corporate business world, I was rather exhausted by all of these tests and behavioral systems because it felt like they were sort of in the second half of where we should be. Passions for me, because they're motivational forces and because they're sometimes, there's lots of different ways to describe passions, which I talk about in the book. Motivational forces, that's the simplest way to think about them. But truly, they are these inclinations and feelings that we have inside of us that sometimes we can't even explain. Sometimes I think that the corporate tests and the programs are boxing us in certain ways that sometimes can be helpful. I know at the time in this challenging work environment, it was actually kind of helpful to have boxes to describe how I showed up and how I led. But then it became, in certainly the workplace I was in, it became somewhat weaponized, to be honest, the Clifton Strengths thing, where you're this and you're this and you're this. Why? And it just became this language that was used. So for me, the passions are for us. It's not a corporate methodology. It's not a certificate we get at the end because we've passed a test. It's the way we truly feel inside about what lights us up. And it doesn't even need to be a work piece. I talk about work and life a lot. Often, I work with people who actually are kind of okay in their job, but in their personal life, they don't have anything else. And so they rediscover something that they've loved in their spare time, and it starts to positively impact the work life when it all comes together. So I feel like I'm probably talking way too much on this, Vicky, but for me, passions are more personal. Um, they're more elementary and start at the beginning, and we can shape them to truly who we are versus having a program or a set of definitions that we feel we have to fit into. I hope that helps. And I hope it's not too negative because I have found that some of those programs are helpful. But for me, passions are for us. It's our life. It's who we are.
Just
Totally.
wanted to know there is another question in the chat as well.
Yeah.
My question was very simple because as a behavioral researcher, I sometimes find us bottling ourselves in these kind of, um, different groups, and we all change, right? So whether it's Enneagram or MBTI or any of those, they bottle you in the workplace, and then you are stuck to a larger extent. And I like the idea of passion collective, of exploring things beyond the kind of framework per se. Yeah, it's just an observation. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I love that that's what you've got even in this short time, Sunyana, about the idea of passions. And I think maybe this is what I was trying to explain with my last response, is that truly it's who we are as humans in many ways. And it's not to say that passions can't be developed and worked on over the years. It's not that, when we're 3 years old, we're going to become an expert at something, right? But genuinely, and there's some stories in my book about, there's one story actually about a flight attendant I met on a flight coming from Knoxville to Atlanta. And she was a 70-year-old flight attendant, Delta, on the world's crappiest plane, one of those really small little planes that you can barely stand up in, right? Everyone was sort of miserable because they weren't even going to get, the bag of pretzels or whatever it was. I think it was like a 50-minute flight, or not even. Everyone's just seemed really unhappy. And she showed up like it was the Waldorf Astoria. She was absolutely incredible. She told us all how she was how grateful she was to be there, a little bit about her story, what she wanted to do for us in that moment. When she brought this tiny little snacks we got around, it was like she was offering us this sort of beautiful feast. She made the whole experience magical for me, completely changed my day. And I caught up with her afterwards and asked her to share her story. And there's a lot from her childhood and her adult life that made her realize that she needed to put more of herself into this literally tiny box that she was working in every day, this tiny plane. And she managed to change it all in that space, right? No one else could have told her what that feels like or how to do it. She had to truly believe in who she was and then have the courage to show up in that way. Even if people are still scrolling on their phones, or how people don't pay attention to flight attendants anymore, they're just in their own world. She did it anyway. Truly inspiring. So yeah, the boxes can be helpful, and we need boxes at work, right? I mean, otherwise it would be chaos. But how can our passions, how can truly what we love help us feel more of who we are, and also help us make a greater contribution in either the work environment or elsewhere? That's really the question I'm trying to explore with my work. So I'm so glad you got some of that. Thank you for sharing.
Let's stop there.